Joining us now, Robert Ike, councilman in Chesapeake. They have an election tomorrow on Tuesday. Councilman Ike, great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, John. This is great on the eve of the election. Kind of excited. I think our numbers are looking good. But this pandemic, it's just kind of thrown the normal campaign into a loop. We've had no forums. We can't door knock and talk to the citizens. It's a whole new ball game, and there's a lot of unknowns.
All right, so the election is tomorrow, municipal election, a bunch of council seats up, and mayor. So, I got my absentee ballot, Ann and I, and we voted absentee weeks ago. So that's fine. We mailed it in. If people haven't done that, can they still get an absentee ballot? Can they go there in person? Or if they've not had one, do they have to show up tomorrow?
I think they can still go to the registrar's office in person. You have to pull up out front of your car and call into the registrar's office, and they will come out and help you through that process. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's going to be raining pretty much 100% of the day, which statistically suppresses voter turnout, but we'll see how that works.
The polls are open tomorrow just like always. All the polling places, they're open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., just like normal.
Well, there's 5 polling places that will not open, and those are in some of the Methodist churches. They've declined to allow us to put a polling place in their church as would normally occur. So we've doubled up and are directing people to an alternate polling place. And if your polling place has been changed, you will have received a little white card in the mail to your listed address, directing you to which poll you're supposed to be attending. If you didn't get that and you show up at your polling place, there'll be a large sign there telling you what your alternate place is.
I voted Oscar Smith High School. Now, I'm not voting tomorrow because I already sent in my absentee ballot. But I voted Oscar Smith High School. So that's not one of the 5 Methodist churches. So I would just go normally to Oscar Smith and vote?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, unless you got a little white card or you vote in one of the Methodist churches, then you'll go to your normal polling place.
So Kiara, who you just talked to, my executive producer, by the way, coming up on her 1-year anniversary, says, Oscar Smith, that's my alma mater, go Tigers. I live right by Oscar Smith High School, so I live like a stone's throw. I could walk there in 10 minutes. Councilman Ike, let's just talk about tomorrow. You don't know what to expect, right? Because you're a retail guy. You go out, you knock on doors, you hold forums and rallies and stuff, and you go, you hold coffees, and you haven't been able to do that. So how have you been able to reach voters?
Well, it's tough. A lot of it is social media. We're doing a lot on Facebook. I've got a very large email list that I keep updated on things that are going on, and trying to remind the public of some of my accomplishments over the last 4 years, and hoping that they will continue to support me to allow me another 4 years to work for the citizens.
Your position in Chesapeake, where we're in a phase 1 now, where you can only go outside. I drove around Sunday. It was a pretty nice day. Had some things to do. Took my son to hit some balls. I saw a lot of restaurants open with the things outside, but I didn't see a lot of people there. Are you concerned that maybe the consumer demand's not there?
Well, I'll tell you, I was at Friday night when everybody opened up with outdoor seating. Prior to that, we had gotten with the city manager and created an expedited permit process, streamlined it very much, and I asked the city manager to suspend the permit fee for people to get outdoor seating permits. It was a very simple process. Everybody had no problem with it. Everybody that asked for got their outdoor permits. I was out over the weekend. Friday night especially, I went to 6 restaurants just to walk in and stop and visit for a little bit and talk to the owners and see how they were doing. And they all raved about the process. They said it was so simple. They're still doing a lot of takeout, but they're, from what I saw Friday night, everybody's outdoor seating was full. And like you said earlier, I didn't see a lot of masks. Of course, I was not wearing one because you know how I feel about that. I just wish we'd get this reopening done. There's so many people that are suffering, the small businesses. we've got to get moving into phase 2, 3, and 4, and just get this behind us.
What is your position, Councilman Ike, in Chesapeake as far as opening businesses up? As councilman there, are you in favor of speeding this along? Do you want to open up schools in September? For instance, if you're in Chesapeake Public High School, can you start football practice in the middle of August like we normally do? How do you see this working?
Well, I think we ought to accelerate it and get everything back to operation. I think schools should open in September. I think this has been way overblown. As I've told you before on your show, John, if you're concerned about your health, stay home or wear a mask when you're out. If you have comorbidities like diabetes or high blood pressure or heart issues or lung issues, then you need to stay home. If you're sick, stay home. But the rest of us that are not sick, we need to be able to go about our business. Just because we have a pandemic, we don't suspend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
How does the school system work? Like, who makes the decision if Chesapeake City schools open in September? Is that a decision that's made by the local school board? Is that made at the governor's level, Robert?
Unfortunately, all of this is made at the governor's level. Now, once we have a more conservative House and Senate and a governor, I fully intend to go to Richmond and push that these type of rules and regulations be taken from the governor's level and pushed down to the city council levels, because there's so many different municipalities all over the state that we're nowhere near as dense as Northern Virginia. You got Western and Midwestern Virginia that are they've got 500 or 600 residents and they have no COVID-19 and no deaths, but they're locked down via the governor's edict without any possible even play or appropriate application of the limits. When this first came out and the governor said 10 people per restaurant, I wrote an open letter to our local health department director and asked her, I said, that's great if you're a Subway or a McDonald's, you want 10 people in there, but I've got people that own restaurants that have 10,000 square feet and 5 separate dining rooms. Why can't they put 10 people in each area? And it was denied. Nope, the governor said 10 people. And that's the biggest problem I think people are having with this. It is not evenly applied. It's not reasonable. And it's just like they're making it up as they go along. So,
and then right. And then they pick winners and losers. Like, here's an example. My son's travel baseball team wants to have baseball practice. There's 15 kids on the team, 2 coaches, that's 17. But a baseball field is 3 acres. So they say, well, you can go outside. That's fine. Okay, so it's outside. Okay, that's fine. And they say, but you can only have 10 people. 10 people in how much space? Baseball field, average high school baseball field measures 3 acres. Is that 10 people per acre? 10 people per acre and a half? 10 people per 5 acres? 100 acres? 2 football fields? I mean, that's where it becomes, and people are saying, well, I can have baseball practice because I don't know what to do. I mean, this really doesn't make any sense, Robert.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not reasonable. It's not applied fairly. They are picking winners and losers. You can't go into a retail store, but by God, you can go into Lowe's and Home Depot and Dollar Tree and all these other large businesses. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's not applied fairly or evenly or even logically. And that's the reason the American people are sick and tired of it. And you're going to see a lot of civil disobedience. Got a guy in New Jersey's I'm assuming if he hasn't already been arrested, he's going to open his gym today in complete defiance of the New Jersey governor.
Yeah, he's
going
going to
CNN
jail.
And Fox is there, and there's who knows what's going to happen there.
He's going to jail because Murphy will make an example out of him. I mean, the only way you could do that is if every gym in New Jersey opened up at the same time. Then they can't throw 19,000 people in jail. But if it's just one guy, I mean, you saw that in Maine. The one guy in northern Maine tried to defy the governor and open up his lobster shack. They took his business license, put him in jail, and then revoked his liquor license for 24 months, and he had to shut down and file bankruptcy, perhaps. So that's one of the issues. John Fredericks Radio Network, we're back. Robert Ike, running for re-election, City Council, Chesapeake. Robert, there's nobody I know better than you that that talks to small business owners every day. It's a big part of your network. You're always trying to solve their problems. That's why, you're so popular. You've been reelected twice. Tell us about what small business owners in Chesapeake are saying.
Well, John, starting with restaurant owners, they're ready to open. And given this little outdoor seating thing, that's helping them a little bit, and they're still doing curbside and takeout. I think the biggest thing that they're telling me is that the governor is using the ABC agents as his strong arm. If they violate any little rule, they threaten to take their ABC license away, suspend it for 12 months, or make them go back to the very beginning of the application process, which is the death knell for a restaurant. If you can't serve somebody a glass of wine or beer or a mixed drink with their dinner, you're out of business. And I think that, to me, in and of itself, is putting the ABC agents in a really tough position, because I talk to law enforcement all the time. As a matter of fact, Friday was Peace Officer Memorial Day. A lot of officers giving their lives, but they all believe in the oath they took, and that's to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And none of this is constitutional, which totally drives me bananas, to use your word, bananas. The governor's power to do this and violate constitutional rights, I think we're going to see major lawsuits coming up down the road once this clears up. I'm hearing from retail businesses that, sure, they're getting a rent abatement where the landlord tells them that they can skip the next 2 months' rent. But, John, it's still due. It's not forgiven. They still have to pay it back. Mm-hmm. So once they get their doors open and they try and recover from all this, now they're going to be paying double rent or a monthly rent plus 25% of what they owe. Mm-hmm. These are small businesses. I remember 32 years ago I started a business in my house, Century Security System. Mm-hmm. And I was on credit cards. I was everything, just trying to get my doors open and keep business flowing. And, 32 years we're doing something right. Mm-hmm. But the whole problem is there's so many small businesses out there that where I was 30 years ago, and they're still on credit cards. They're on retirement. They took this chance to open a business, and they're going crazy because they just they don't know what to do. And if they do the civil disobedience and open anyway, then the governor's going to send his folks in and try and shut them down. And it's scary. It's scary. It's scary.
To just try to make a living. Let's take a friend of ours, a good mutual friend, owns 3 restaurants in Chesapeake. Dustin Hughes owns Lockside and 2 Vinos, all right? We're both friends with Dustin. He's been an advertiser of mine for a long time. Great guy. It was always his dream to start restaurants. He started one of them, then a second, then a third. He spent money in building out his decks, and it's just a great guy, great places. Well, the last time I talked to him, he said to me, if this thing goes beyond like the 3rd week in May, he said, I'll have to fold everything. I'm not going to be able to make it. So what do you tell somebody like him and all his employees?
Well, that's the biggest problem is he's had to let all his employees go except for just a few that can work the takeout and the delivery side. Now, number one, getting back into business, if the governor would let us open our restaurants completely, not only does he have to find new people to come back if his old employees have already found other jobs, but then he has to train them. I mean, it's in 3 restaurants. That's almost a Herculean task. The 3rd restaurant, the Vino off of Kempsville Road in Providence, he just opened that like 2 weeks prior to this shutdown. Mm-hmm. Just opened it. And I'm surprised that he's able to keep things going. I feel for him. He's got 3 great restaurants, great food, but he's just kind of stuck. And the ABC agents come in there and tell him, if you break one little rule, we're going to pull your ABC license.
I just got a tweet here from one of our listeners who says, "Go Robert Ike." She says, talk about small business. ABC stores were allowed to stay open. Most of them are tiny. They have a hard time social distancing, but nothing is done to them. Well, that's because they're government owned. And if you took away the alcohol, there would have been a revolt immediately. So that's why the ABC stores kept open. But, people are looking at this, Robert, and they're saying to themselves, they had enough. And I really think that's my message for today is the numbers don't add up. People want to get back to work. I think if this governor doesn't open up school, and I think it's 50-50. I mean, if I had to bet now, he's not going to open up school. When kids are staying home and you're hiring 1,000 contact tracers to come bang on your door in the middle of the day and demand to see some person who was tagged as coming into contact with somebody else and then making them stay home under threat of fine or jail, I just don't think that's going. I really don't.
It's not constitutional. Downright not constitutional. And I'll tell you what, there's a core of America, which I believe is the majority of America, that are tired of it. And this administration is running roughshod over our constitutional rights, and I think they're gonna run into a problem, especially with the contact tracing. That's something that will definitely intrude on our personal rights and privacy.
Your victory party tomorrow night, do you have one?
Yeah, actually, I'll be legally correct. I will have 10 people at my house, social distances. I put chairs out 6 feet apart. I put tape on the carpet, and we're all going to have a glass of wine in our hands as we listen to the returns. Of course, that's not true. There'll probably be more than 10 people, and we won't be social distancing, but we are going to celebrate the election tomorrow night.
Well, I'm going to come by in my car, and I can just sit outside in the car, right? In the front of your house. Is that legal? Right, I can do that, right?
I've got a big driveway. Come on.
I'm gonna sit out there in the car. Robert Ike, good luck tomorrow, and thanks for all you do. You're doing a fabulous job. If you live in Chesapeake and you've not voted, vote for Robert Ike tomorrow, running for re-election to City Council. Take the 10 minutes. Go vote for Robert Ike tomorrow, and thanks for being with us. Robert,
Thanks,
you're the
John.
best. Thank you.
Have a good one.